Welcome into the DNVR Rockies Podcast. I am your host, Patrick Lyons, calling in for the third and final time from the PHNX studios. Y'all have to give me back. Joining me, my tag team partner, @cap_caveman on Twitter, Derek Montilla. What's up, buddy?
That made me sad. That part made me sad. But I'm doing good. I'm still happy. Spirits are still high. Things don't look great for the Arizona Diamondbacks, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I mean, I just need people to not hang their heads and hold their heads high, regardless of the outcome of this series, because this still is something incredibly impressive that this team has done.
Yeah, Dbacks still alive. No hiding now that I'm here in Phoenix. Before this, we tried to plenty of different ways, but no. Not the case. This is a sore subject that I'm going to unfortunately have to bring up to you, Derek, and our super producer, a.k.a. Father Overlord Jacob. It's crazy to think that on this date in 2007, the Rockies had nearly been sitting around for a week to play in the 2007 World Series. They still would have to wait one more day, October 24th. You're cracking open a can of something already.
Y'all still got swept.
Okay. That's what I'm supposed to be saying to you, actually. But what are your memories from? And again, it's from a Diamondbacks perspective. I think that's we talk plenty about. Rockies fans discuss what that was like with the sweep, and then obviously the major disappointment of getting to the World Series and getting swept by the Boston Red Sox. But from your perspective, what was that experience like, or what was that time like in Arizona?
I want to say, obviously, it was a disappointment, right? Like, the Diamondbacks had years of success. Then they, kind of had their worst season historically in 2004. And then they bounced back, and here they were in the NLCS. And, it felt right, but I also think it was the last time that I felt some sort of sense of the Diamondbacks belong here and they're back to where they belong, right? I mean, after that, it felt like every team, even the ones that made the playoffs going forward, were kind of like this year's team, where they're this gritty underdog that's kind of doing it in a season maybe that they shouldn't be doing it, with a cast of characters that probably shouldn't be, sniffing the World Series. But 2007, that was a huge disappointment, because I think going up against the Rockies, it felt like it wasn't a good feeling going into it with the way that the Rockies were playing. But you just kind of had this, as a Diamondbacks fan, bit of sense of arrogance that this is going to go our way because it's the Rockies, and the Rockies have, kind of struggled, and that's kind of what we've always known them to be. And I mean, that's not the case with that year's team, right?
It was sort of like the Diamondbacks were in the Phillies role, maybe not with the same, payroll and whatnot. But the Rockies were the Dbacks.
Exactly. Yeah. At least going into it as a fan. I mean, I'd feel more like a Phillies fan probably feels in this series going into it, where you feel like your team is better and you should win it. And then, I'm sure there was a point after the Diamondbacks tied this up that they started to realize, hey, this isn't no slouch. Well, that was a little different in that series. That happened right away. But I mean, there was definitely a sense of disappointment with the team, whereas I don't think I've felt that sense of disappointment when they've been bounced from the playoffs since then. 2017, that was a little bit of a disappointment with the way that they just absolutely got rocked by the Dodgers.
I would argue 18 was more disappointing than 17 in regards to the fact that they were in first all the way up until September.
18, yeah. And they built on 17, right? 17 was the year where it felt like, all right, we're here now. And then 18,
it's the year of the Archie Bradley triple.
Yeah. But as the resident 10-year-old in 2007.
Please, go ahead.
How did you feel?
I was pretty sad.
I bet.
But I was 10. So, what am I, obviously I had not been through a whole lot of that in my lifetime.
Playoff heartbreak?
I did not remember. And that year I went to a ton of games with my dad. We probably went to about 25 games that year. So I remember that pretty well. We went to a couple of the Cubs NLDS games, and then we went to an NLCS game as well.
Yeah.
And I just remember that was kind of my first Wait, it doesn't always end up.
You can't always get what you want.
Like
it will break your heart.
Yeah. I would say that, like, obviously my memory of that is probably not as vivid as many people's, but yeah, it was pretty disappointing.
Yeah. Yep. Rockies fans know a lot about that kind of disappointment in every which way.
Yep.
We'll talk about the game sixes, some other Rockies news and notes here. Last week, actually, the Contemporary Baseball Era Committee announced 8 new nominees. They'll announce that in the second week of December down at the winter meetings. Who gets in there? 4 managers, 2 umpires, 2 executives. Hank Peters, Bill White, great National League president Bill White, umpires Ed Montague, and Joe West. Were you surprised that Joe West is in the conversation? I mean, he's got the most games ever umped. You know what I mean? He's respected within the game, I think, in a lot of ways, and by other umpires. But was that a surprise to go? He's on the cusp. He's on the doorstep. He's knocking.
I mean, I think we're gonna see guys that we feel that way about, and also it's the longer you are in the league as an umpire, the more you're going to be disliked, right? I mean, I
kind of not all guys, will finish their career and are hated.
No, that's true. That's true. But I think that when you have the career like Joe West does, I mean, of course, his antics at times were very memorable. He's kind of like Angel Hernandez, where after a while you just kind of had a bad feeling about this game when he would be umpiring it, right? So but those are things that just happen, I think, as a fan, because again, you remember this game in 2004 where he screwed you, and you remember this game in 2008 where he blew it, and all this stuff, right? So it's like the longer an umpire has a chance to, impact you like that as a fan, I think, it's hard to not have a bad reputation as an umpire.
It increases the likelihood of the F it highlights.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I don't
with the Meek Mill music playing.
Look,
and you just see an ump falling over or calling a guy out, and you're like, he was safe by 2 steps. What?
Don't worry, I am getting that ready.
You
for
working
Garrett.
on it?
I'm getting that Garrett Stubbs one together for his highlights of him cheering from the dugout. But no, I just think that's it. I mean, of course, there's going to be some umpires that have a good reputation because they're not. I mean, they're not all going to be Pat Hoberg, who called a perfect game in the World Series or whatever, right?
Didn't miss a call. No, that's true. Yeah, of the 4 managers, Lou Piniella, Davey Johnson, Cito Gaston, and a guy that, if you're a listener to the DNVR Rockies podcast, we've brought it up plenty, is a former Rocky and maybe the next Rocky to get in the Hall of Fame, either with Todd Helton or after Todd Helton, because he was the only manager for 1 year. Did kind of quit with 2 more years left on his deal, kind of had enough of it. Smoking cigarettes at altitude was not really good for his health, or even just coaching at altitude can be very frustrating. That being said, has a really, really great resume. We'll have to break that down some point this offseason in the Arizona Fall League. Quiet week for prospects, but Sterling Thompson is the guy that we have an article up at the DNVR.com pretty much all about what's at stake this offseason for the Rockies. They've got to make trades. I specifically cited the Gabriel Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel trade. It was an old school baseball deal of hey, here's some big league pieces for another big league piece, and you've got some depth. We don't. We've got a depth in an area. You do. You kind of have to make those deals. It can't just be a veteran player for a bunch of prospects.
Yeah.
So they have to be aggressive on that front.
That one was rare, right? I think that's why that one kind of shook up the baseball world a bit, because honestly, the Blue Jays just had a surplus of catchers. We had a surplus of outfielders. It made sense.
Perfect match.
But when you look at their combined numbers over the season, as much as we want to say man, Diamondbacks they really got one over on the Blue Jays. Varsh had 20 home runs. He had 62 RBI. He had a 3.8 WAR, and he led all of Major League Baseball with 29 defensive runs saved. Right. Yeah. So it's he nearly
Gold Glove finalist. Gold Glove finalist.
His 29 defensive runs saved are almost as many as Gurriel Moreno's 34 combined. Right. So again, you got a lot of value back for what you were looking for. His offensive numbers aren't great. He only had a 222 batting average, but Gurriel and Moreno together had a 270. Right. So they the haul feels much bigger because the Diamondbacks got an all-star this year, and Gurriel, honestly, even though he plays the position a bit awkwardly at times, looks like a bit like a baby giraffe out there playing the outfield, right? But he gets the job done. And that's the thing is that he actually has an impressive amount of defensive runs saved himself. I believe he might lead all outfielders for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, he was kind of like a low-key snub after watching him play a lot throughout the postseason. I'm like, yeah, maybe those numbers are lying just a little bit, like you said.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a case. There's a case to be made.
He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him move on. I've said this a bit. But the only reason why I say that isn't because he hasn't been a great addition for the Diamondbacks. I just think his value is probably at an all-time high for him personally in his career.
Right.
And I think the Diamondbacks, due to the fact that we've been here watching him play, not to say they don't see the same value, but they know the real story behind all of his numbers, all of his play. And I think some other team is going to end up giving him kind of a king's ransom.
And they can even potentially, put a qualifying offer on him too if he rejects that. Diamondbacks are going to get a draft pick. So
absolutely.
Sterling Thompson's been the guy in the Arizona Fall League that if he can continue to progress, it could make the Rockies feel comfortable with possibly trading one of their second basemen. And I'll throw Ryan McMahon in that conversation as a second baseman. And so they say, you know what? If we trade Ryan McMahon, then Sterling Thompson can play third base, which is what he did predominantly at the University of Florida. And if you trade a guy like Brendan Rodgers, Sterling Thompson could fit in there at second base. You also have Ade Amador that can play there. So read more on the article all about that. Case Williams is another one of those top players to watch down in the Arizona Fall League. We'll talk more on Wednesday about some of the players performing in the winter leagues and where they're at. But right now, the Pan American Games are going on. Brazil is up 2-0, and that's important because Gabriel Barbosa, one of the Rockies minor leaguers, he had a hand. In fact, at the final 2 strikeouts in the 8-7 win over Colombia. So,
nice.
Those winter leagues are incredibly passionate.
They are.
And you're getting the crowds there that are just unlike anything else, like similar to the World Baseball Classic crowds.
I was going to say, much different than the Fall League crowd. You only get the diehards out there at the Fall League crowd for sure. But, the winter leagues are absolutely electric. And it's also just this weird, like, again, the Fall Leagues, you're getting competition on your same level, essentially, right? You're getting minor league ball players out there trying to either impress their team or mostly just work on their skill sets and coaching and stuff in live games, right? But on the flip side, the winter leagues, you could be facing 40-plus-year-old Fernando Rodney in a save situation at the end of the game. Who knows?
Those rosters are amazing.
Hey, and Joey, thank you for let's go. Joey says this show, best male legs on YouTube Sports.
Joey B.
Let's go.
I mean, it really is. Name another show where there are as many male legs.
Yeah, this is a lot of gams on this show.
It's a gams cast. Yeah. You're right. Gam 6, Gam 7. We might need to have the thumbnail changed.
Gam 4 right here.
Oh, so good. Yeah. So good. Similar to the taste of Breckenridge Distillery. I mean, our legs don't taste. Anyway, moving on. Breckenridge Distillery, the official bourbon.
So fast. Maybe they do.
Official bourbon of the Denver Broncos, widely known for their blended bourbon whiskey, a high rye mash, American style whiskey. We got them at all of our tailgates, all of our watch parties. So many of those coming up here in the next few weeks. They're giving away 2 tickets for Broncos Chargers. You're going to be up in the Breckenridge Bourbon Whiskey Suite for Chargers Broncos on December 31st. All you got to do, share a photograph on Instagram or Facebook using hashtag Broncos Bourbon. And then at the end of November, boom, they're going to narrow it down to 10 finalists. You could be amongst them. Again, Breckenridge Bourbon, amazing stuff, official bourbon of the Denver Broncos at all of our tailgates, at all of our watch parties, and in all 50 states. Shop your local retailer or visit BreckenridgeDistillery.com for home delivery of award-winning Breckenridge spirits. Après anywhere. And speaking of anywhere, you could do Bet365 anywhere, and you can do it in not a ordinary fashion. They don't do ordinary. They believe every sport should be epic. So see for yourself when you sign up today, because you get $365 in bonus bets when you bet just $1 from Bet365. And now, of course, we've got our DNVR custom bets like Nuggets winning the NBA championship again. Lakers Nuggets tomorrow at Ball Arena. Champs are back. Only the Warriors in 2017-18 have won back-to-back titles in the last decade. It's crazy that that's only happened once.
Not a fan of that idea myself.
No, you don't think the Nuggets are going to win?
I'm just not a fan of the idea of the Nuggets winning
because
I am a diehard Suns fan. So I should probably just leave for this portion of the ad read.
Well, look, either way, get in on Bet365. Make it epic. Download the app, deposit $10, and claim your $365 in bonus bets as soon as you place a bet for $1. Bet the Bet365 app and download it and use code DNVR365 when you sign up. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Game 6 last night of the ALCS was another win for the road team. Rangers win 9-2. It was a lot closer to like a 4-2 game until Adolis GarcÍa, of course, had to get his name. Got to throw his hat in the ring with a grand slam to help make it 9-2. We got a game 7, man. We got a game 7 today. 2 games today. It's the last time we're gonna have 2 games in a day.
I have a I have an idea that maybe the home team should just go stay in a hotel in the
I have
town.
heard that being suggested, like for the Astros. Yes.
I'm just saying, just go stay in a hotel downtown. You guys have the money. Just put them up somewhere down there and like see if it makes a difference. I don't know.
It's sometimes, you sleep on a hotel bed, which has happened to a couple Rockies players in recent memory. It messes your back up just a little bit, but then you end up playing really well. Sometimes you end up on the DL for the better part, or the IL for the better part of 2 years. But nevertheless, that could be a good strategy. Yeah, road team has won every game in the series. Over the weekend in the game 5, we had the whole incident with Brian Abreu plunking Adolis GarcÍa after his little celebration was suspended, but still gets to play because that's just how the rules work. That's how the collective bargaining agreement goes. Yeah. He gets suspended. A little bench clearing incident. No hands were really thrown, but I personally, I would have liked to have seen at least a little shoving, a little jersey clutching between Bochy and Dusty Baker. That would have been some must-see TV.
Yeah, that would have been epic. That would have been pretty good. I wonder which guy would have gotten the last word in there as far as like a clutch, right? Also, we had our own little incident that at least our producer Damon wanted to see a bench clearing happen when Bryce Harper collided with Gabriel Moreno at home plate. And I mean, I think we've all watched it enough to know, there wasn't much Bryce could do there, but it wasn't a good look in slow motion, that's for sure. Slow motion definitely made that look a lot more evil and intended than I think it actually was. But yeah, sometimes in the playoffs you need a little bench clearing. You need a little kerfuffle, if you will.
And he was certainly getting booed in the stadium.
Yeah,
GarcÍa?
No, Harper. After that slide, he was certainly getting booed in the stadium. Yeah. Other than Phillies fans, of course, they were chanting MVP.
Yeah,
sounds about right.
Most valuable plower that would be perhaps.
Puncher.
Nathan Eovaldi continues to just shove in this postseason, and every postseason that he participates in. He's now 4-0. And we're gonna get a game 7 today. It's gonna be really interesting. It's Max Scherzer versus Christian Javier. I don't know how long we're gonna get Max Scherzer for. He's a little suspect, to be honest. I mean, I don't know how far along he is down the road from injuries. I think he's just a guy that would just rather just pitch through something than be honest and say, you know what, maybe John Gray's the better option. Maybe Dane Dunning is who should be getting the ball in game 7, but it's going to be Scherzer in 7.
It's still so frustrating to me. Like, it's not an excuse. It's just a fact that layoffs lead to baseball players struggling. And I mean, at times, it doesn't matter what the layoff cause is. It doesn't matter if it's due to scheduling. It doesn't matter if it's due to an injury. It doesn't matter if it's due to being benched. It's really hard to come back to baseball after not playing in actual baseball games and be as good as you were. And that's what happened with Max Scherzer, right? He had time off. The last start was his first start, and he absolutely got rocked. I don't know what Max Scherzer we're going to see, but I feel like putting a guy out there, just like what happened with Clayton Kershaw with the Dodgers after he had his layoff due to the schedule, sometimes it's just not the same pitcher, right? And I mean, I get it. He's a superstar. He's the guy you would want in this situation, theoretically, by the numbers on paper. But I don't know. I don't think things look good for the Rangers going tonight. And like you said, they should absolutely have a short leash for him. Javier has been incredible for the Houston Astros. So he's 2-0 with 12 Ks and 1.69 ERA. Good luck. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I don't like it either, other than the fact that they're on the road.
That's it.
That means they're going to win.
So far in this series, though, the Rangers have to win. They have to win. That's the way it has to work out.
That's it. Oh man, it'll be an exciting one, obviously, to say the least. I don't know if we'll see John Gray coming in there. He only was able to pitch 1 inning in that previous Scherzer start, so I think they were just viewing him more as a bullpen piece. Maybe he does go 2-3 innings, but I would tend to think we might not see him here in Game 7.
Do Rockies fans still root for him? Is he a guy that's still well liked by the fan base?
I think a lot of Rockies fans continue to root for any former Rocky, almost any. But yeah, no, John Gray is still very much beloved, and there was this chance where they were going to bring him back. He kind of wanted to stay. The Arlington is a little bit closer to his home in Oklahoma City, so I think that was understood. So yeah, did he live up to the hype? Most prospects don't. right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
just
that's true.
John Gray on his own, he's still probably,
He's still a good pitcher.
you know, amongst the top 5
Yeah.
greatest. Maybe on that back end,
Yeah,
he's number 5.
sure.
You definitely make the case, but I think a lot of people like John Gray, and he did a lot for the community and whatnot. So
I feel like Diamondbacks fans do the same thing
sure,
until you do something to cause us to not.
And if you
root for
cause
anymore.
something negative to happen while you're with the team, so there are some relievers who, you know,
for sure.
Rockies fans might not think too much of. Nathan in the
Yeah.
chat. What's going on, Nate? Hey, fellas, good to see you. What is your bold prediction today for the games? I mean, maybe it isn't bold, but I do think that in Game 7 of the ALCS, Scherzer doesn't get out of the 3rd inning. I don't know how bold that is necessarily.
Yeah, that's not bold. I think based on the track record, I almost feel like it would be smart because I have a hard time seeing him have a tremendous amount of success, and you can't let him go out there and cost you the game, you know, by any stretch of the imagination, especially here in Game 7. But my bold prediction is that the home team is finally going to win a game. That's my bold prediction. I'm also not. I don't have the best prediction when it comes to the Diamondbacks Phillies. I want to.
Whenever it feels like they're going to win, where you're like, oh, you know what? There's something about this game. The matchup is good. They don't win.
Merrill Kelly in Game 2, I felt good about. This is the same matchup. Aaron Nola, Merrill Kelly in Philadelphia.
You feel bad about it, which is why your bold prediction should be that the Diamondbacks are going to win.
I probably should be.
They embrace chaos.
It just doesn't.
And that would be the chaos.
It doesn't make any sense that they would win. So of course they're going to win, right? I mean,
I kind of think so.
I don't know if their luck runs out tonight.
Park,
but yeah.
I think they're so chaotic.
The winningest team basically at home in baseball history.
Not because they're better, not because Merrill Kelly's going to like have a no-hit kind of performance.
But because it doesn't make any sense.
And they're chaotic.
Yeah.
They are the Diamondbacks. They are. Going back to the Astros with Jose Altuve, he has a Hall of Fame case right now. And he still has, you know, a few more years left, at least 1 year, making big money with Houston.
Also,
I imagine he'll end up staying there.
A hilarious meme. With him looking at the laptop or the flat screen,
the
iPad. Yeah, it's
he earned some screen time. He earned some screen time.
He's a good kid.
According to Jaws, I know you and I were I think talking about this the other day. Jacob Jaffe's system for basically evaluating players at different positions to see, you know, what's their likelihood or where they rank amongst other players all time at their position. Altuve is only 22nd right now.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he'll move up the chart, but to give you kind of some perspective, he is a little bit behind guys like Ian Kinsler and Dustin Pedroia, who you're like, hey, Hall of really good guys.
Sure.
Were they Hall of Famers? Probably not. So he does have some ways to go. He probably has to get up to about maybe 15th, where Craig Biggio is at, a Hall of Famer. And I think there's enough time left for him, and he's still basically at his peak or a peak like that. I think he'll eventually get there. But if he does, do you think that he will be a first ballot guy? Because he almost seems like he is right now when you combine his postseason career. So let's say it's almost a no doubt, and he finishes within the top 10 of all-time second baseman, according to Jaws. Do you think he gets in on the first ballot, or will voters kind of say, this is your slap on the wrist, you're going to get in on the second ballot, similar to a Roberto Alomar, who I think was punished a little bit for the incident where he spit on an ump, and then got in on his second ballot without any issue?
First of all, that's such a crazy thing. I know that like actually kind of disgraces the game, spitting on an umpire, more than unfounded rumors about you cheating, or at least wait, I'll say this.
Unfounded might be fair.
Unconfirmed. You know what I mean? Like,
it's fair. No,
you know
I have not taken issue with your word choice.
Right.
That's okay. That's fine.
It's kind of like the whole steroid scandal, right? I mean, like, yeah, there's a lot of bad evidence against a lot of those guys, but you know,
everyone was doing it.
I was like, show me the test they took that came up positive.
Everyone was
show
cheating.
me the confirmation, just that they were doing something that was currently illegal in the sport. I think that he's always going to have that going against him, and I think everybody on that team is going to have that going against them. Everybody involved with that Astros team. But the other thing about Altuve is he's not a great defender, right? Like, as much as you think he is, he has a negative 13. He has negative 13 defensive runs saved
He doesn't
this
have
year
much
for the
range.
season. He was one of the worst defenders in that category.
He doesn't have much range.
Yeah, he
His
doesn't have much
strides
range.
aren't long.
Yeah.
When he dives, it's not long.
Now we're just attacking.
Don't
the man's
stride
size.
shame, Jacob.
This
For
is
anyone who doesn't know,
Jacob's
is
incredibly tall.
He's 6'14".
And
Not many people know that about him.
A single day in the NBA. Not one day in the NBA.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not. You're not.
He doesn't cover much ground.
Yeah.
Is it because he's close to the ground?
Wow.
Jacob, stop stride shaming. Not cool.
He's a diminutive man.
It's too
He
much.
makes more money than I do. He's fine.
He's going to make more money than you for the
He
rest of his life.
makes more money than all of us multiplied.
Yeah.
Multiplied.
I hate that he's
Don't
by at
add
least
it.
100. By at least
Right,
100.
Yeah, like what you make times what I make times what he makes still makes more. But he's an incredible baseball player, and his postseason resume, the amount of championships that he might have accumulated by the time his career is done, might speak volumes for him being, a clutch postseason performer, right? So that is something different. I feel like obviously his home run the other day was one of the most memorable home runs in Astros history.
Big comeback homer.
Right.
Yep.
And I mean, obviously he constantly does that for this team. His just numbers don't look great. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know, because you pair that with the fact that people are always going to have that cloud over him of the cheating scandal.
Yep.
He might be a second ballot Hall of Famer, but he'll get in. I think he'll deserve it by the time all is said and done. I don't really care about that stuff, honestly. The first ballot, second ballot, third. Like, it's so weird to me that at times they want to like punish guys for this reason or that reason. Like, look, man, if he deserves it and his career validates him being in the Hall, let's put him in the Hall. This is a sport that chews up and spits out so many players over the course of their careers, and so many of them end up being league average or lesser than that. So, like, let's celebrate the guys that deserve being celebrated.
To put that into maybe not a better context, but just in a different context, Yogi Berra and Joe DiMaggio, we think of all-time greats. They didn't even get in on their first ballot. Like, that's crazy. But I think a lot of the hatred for the Astros, I get it, but
it's not going away.
Yeah, you have to chill, I think, a little bit with it. And if you need to chill in Denver, you got to go to Kind Love, official partner of DNVR. Support a local brand. Look, they're one of the first dispensaries in all of Colorado, established in 2010. They are known for cultivating some of the highest quality cannabis in the state. Their flower and their turbo joints are sold in more than 100 stores around the state. It's amazing because they got like this little toothpick, and you could put it in your joint. You could crush it up, put it in a bowl, put it in a cigarette if you really wanted to give it that kind of infusion. And it's like, it's just magical. It's just wonderful. Turbo Core and the Turbo Joint, they're amazing. You can actually go down and take a look for yourself down at Cherry Creek or North Denver, one of their stores in person. You mentioned DNVR, and you receive a DNVR exclusive discount of 25% off all Kind Love flower pre-rolls and their Turbo Joint line. Visit their website at kindlove.com for their full exclusive menu and online ordering, because right now, DNVR, it now works for deliveries as well. FOCO makes some wonderful deliveries. Normally, on this set here in Phoenix, we have all kinds of Diamondback stuff. We put that away. We kept it away, but those are all bobbleheads from FOCO.
I wanted to fight him over it.
Limited edition ones too. They're really nice. Like, it's one of those things where even if you saw a bobblehead, I guess maybe from any team other than the Dodgers, you'd be like, ooh, I don't like that team. I might not like the player, but you have to respect the artistry of the bobbleheads that they sell on FOCO.
Can I say this? There's nothing I hate more than remembering the day that I stood in the sweltering sun for 2 hours prior to doors opening so that I could get a Luis Gonzalez bobblehead, just to see that same bobblehead for 99 cents at Goodwill. No, it's heartbreaking. I saw it there. Poor little guy. He looks so lonely sitting on this stupid shelf by himself, right? You're never going to do that with a FOCO.
It's true.
FOCO is 1 out of 85, 1 out of 50, 1 out of 25, limited edition, tiny pieces of artwork.
You don't have to stand outside to get it either.
You're probably never going to see another one in person besides the one you get, to be honest, unless you know other bobblehead collectors and you guys get together for like a meeting or something.
It's true.
So.
Yeah. And they got overalls too. They've got tons of caps, tons of different styles of that.
Overalls.
Polos, bags. It's amazing. Go to foco.com, and for all non-presale items, you get 10% off when you mention us, when you use us as your code, DNVR. Let's get to Game 6 tonight. Diamondbacks. Phillies are up 3-2 after 2 really good games. Game 4 started basically with Gabriel Moreno continuing to be in clutch and ending with Ketel Marte with the walk-off. First walk-off in this entire postseason. First walk-off for the Diamondbacks franchise. Oh, yeah. Luis Gonzalez, a little bloop single off the great 100% vote-getting Hall of Famer Mariano Rivera to win the 2001 World Series. Now I got the Phoenix guys smiling.
How old were you?
I was 4.
You were 4.
No memories.
I have zero memories of that World Series.
When you were talking about
getting thrown up in the air by somebody during the celebration.
Derek, when you were talking about the Luis Gonzalez bobblehead, Jacob over there was going, who is that? Is that somebody I should know?
Gonzalez.
At least I know what happened. I've seen all the videos.
The Rockies
but it's
second
not
baseman?
even. But the crazy thing is, like, the craziest thing for me about that whole situation is that Gonzo's hit is not even rated the most clutch hit of that inning.
Correct.
Wasn't it the Womack double?
Yeah, Tony Womack.
Womack doubling down the line is ranked as one of the top 10 most clutch hits in MLB history.
He gets no credit for that.
Another Rockies legend besides Luis A. Gonzalez and Tony Womack. I like that. No, this is we're making this into a Rockies show.
We're trying.
I mean, it should be because it is, of course.
Yeah, allegedly.
Brandon Pfaadt in Game 4. Wow, 5 2/3 scoreless innings pitch. He's now officially a dude.
He's a dude. He was a guy. Now he's a dude. 9
strikeouts, a postseason total that only Curt Schilling and Randy Johnson have ever accomplished in the postseason for the Diamondbacks.
Those are some pretty good players to be compared to. Also, there was a comparison with Brandon Webb also thrown in there. So when those are the 4 names, or those are the 3 other names that you're being compared to, you can't hate that. He's also the first player in postseason history to put up 0 earned runs and 0 walks in consecutive back-to-back starts. So he would hypothetically be going in Game 7 and I mean, every one of these games is the biggest game of their careers, and that goes for Merrill Kelly, it goes for Zach Gallen, big game Brandon in Game 7. I mean, I don't know. I think the Diamondbacks obviously need to take this thing 1 inning at a time. The keys to the victory, I have 3 keys to victory. A big part of that, the first key is to walk Kyle Schwarber. The second key in this next at bat is to also walk Kyle Schwarber, and then in his third at bat, the third key to the game, to walk Kyle Schwarber. Yeah, I know you see a pattern going on here. I don't know what the hell to do here because these guys just seem unstoppable. Schwarber in the series seems unstoppable. The thing that truly worries me is that in some of the wins the Diamondbacks even had, there were several fly balls that were hit to the warning track that the announcers had to lovingly remind us would have been home runs at Citizens Bank Park. So, I mean, honestly, if I'm being honest, things don't look good for the Diamondbacks, and they're going to really need to play their absolute best baseball tonight, which they're capable of. Merrill Kelly is capable of going out there and throwing a complete game shutout. But it's, you have the fact that I'm sure those fans are replaying the comments he made again, and I'm sure they're getting themselves amped up. And I'm sure they've researched his junior college and the colleges that he's went to so they can really hit him deep. But yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be such a difficult atmosphere to play in. Aaron Nola has been incredible, and the Diamondbacks offense really needs to figure out some way to generate runs, even if it's relying on, creating manufacturing runs in some way. Doing it with their legs.
Torrey said they were going to be uber aggressive today. He already came out and said that they're gonna try and take bases. They're gonna do whatever they gotta do.
They're gonna need to. They're gonna need to change it up. Yeah, they can be uber aggressive, and when you do that, you're gonna give yourself a little bit of a lift. You know what I'm saying? See what I did there? Going back to Schwarber, he hit his 20th postseason home run of his career in that Game 5. He's actually tied with Bryce Harper for the most postseason home runs in Phillies franchise history with 11. Which means, sorry, Jason Worth, and your dominant 2009 postseason that got you a huge deal from the Washington Nationals. Sorry, Rob McElhenney's favorite player, Chase Utley. And sorry to one of my wife's favorite players and former Albuquerque Ice Dope, Ryan Howard. All you 3 with your just piddly 10 home runs in the postseason. Yeah. It's Schwarber and Harper.
Nobody cares about you anymore. Nobody.
It's amazing.
Except Christian Walker. He's still credited watching Ryan Howard for a big reason why we're watching him today.
Yeah. It's interesting because there were a lot of people, some even kind of in and around the Rockies community, inside the Rockies community, inside the Rockies organization, dare I say, but they were kind of kicking the tires on Kyle Schwarber last two off seasons ago before they signed Chris Bryant. Like, hey, who's the best fit for this team to help, kind of transition things along? And Kyle Schwarber was kind of pointing at like, man, he would be the perfect guy.
He would hit 150 home runs a year at Coors Field.
And he would not allow the team to lose. Like he's one of those guys where he needs to win. And again, there are plenty of guys that are out there that, hey, I need to win. And they're, you can't just force your team to be better than they are, but you don't stand for losing. And some players will stay away from certain franchises because they don't have confidence in them. So no matter how much money you throw at them, they're not going to take it. And then other, and certain teams maybe want to avoid those kind of players just because, hey, we do our business a certain way and we're not really looking to change things and maybe become better and look in the mirror at how we are. And so I think that might be one of the reasons why the Rockies and Kyle Schwarber really never connected and created a union.
I think, I really think with the Rockies, what it comes down to, it is trying to appeal maybe to some of those players, and bring them over for the right reasons. And I don't know, the whole idea of like, hey, this guy is a bad clubhouse guy or whatever. We don't really know if some of that stuff's true at times.
That's right.
Tommy, that was said about Tommy Pham. And honestly, when he joined this team, not only did he quickly become a huge part of like mentoring the younger players on the Diamondbacks, and when mentoring, I mean giving them a huge amount of crap so that they like it just motivating them and
right.
just being fun and kind of being that kind of that uncle that talks trash to you, right? But Tommy Pham has been nothing but positively received in the Diamondbacks clubhouse, despite everything else that at times people have said about him. So, I don't know if that other stuff is true or not, but I know that his teammates speak very highly of him. And I know that he probably has been a big reason why they made this surge late. I mean, his experience, guys like, Evan Longoria, being able to like share their wisdom with these younger guys and have them, have them feed off of it and use it in a postseason like this is invaluable. Like you pay them for their on-field stuff, but that stuff is like, that's the extra bonus, especially when it's probably very well received during a time like this. Maybe not so much at times during a 162 game regular season, but when you're in the postseason, you're going to be looking for guys that have been around the league and have been here before for that kind of advice, right?
And sometimes you have to work with those kind of players and say, they're not a finished product yet, and maybe they can be a headache in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
But you work with those guys, and you don't just toss them to the side or say, no, this isn't compatible. It's like, no, they provide something on the field, and we'll work with them off the field, especially if you have a really good clubhouse. Like the Rockies have one of those right now. And so that I would probably increase the likelihood of, bringing in someone. Not that's a malcontent, but someone that you go, there's been some stories floating around there, but how much of that is true? And hey, in this clubhouse, are they going to have those same kind of issues? Maybe not. Well, then maybe we need to take a flyer on that guy.
I will say that something that everybody can do a little bit more in life is realize that people can change. And sometimes your belief in someone can help aid that change. That's especially big for an athlete when it comes to an organization or a franchise, expressing their belief in that player and that they can maybe not change, but that they feel like they can be an asset to this organization, and that, you sometimes have those conversations with them about what you would expect out of them or want out of them in the clubhouse. And maybe that changes their view. Maybe that's why Tommy Pham is being received the way he is in the Diamondbacks clubhouse, versus some of the way he's perceived out, previously to that. And I know a lot of it is just that funny story about him slapping Jock Peterson, which is hilarious. And, no one's ever going to not, bring that up when you bring Tommy Pham up, right? But Kyle Schwarber had the most negative defensive runs saved in all of baseball at -21. So technically, by the stats, he was the worst defender in baseball. And that's a better reason to not pay him a whole bunch of money on a team like the Rockies that kind of have a lot more that they need besides just a slugger that's going to hit a bunch of home runs, right? I mean, the Phillies, he's a good fit there because he serves his role, and they've also got another guy. They have other guys that, do the things that he doesn't do well. They put him in the outfield every once in a while, but reluctantly, for the most part. And, he's been excellent at the top of the lineup for them because they just have that threat immediately that you have to either deal with pitching to one of the best sluggers, not hitters, sluggers, in the league, or walking him, but he also has a terrible batting average. And of course, that's just during the regular season. Now in the postseason, He's just
a whole
an
new
incredible
world.
hitter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole new world there. Yeah, it's actually a whole new world for us too down at the DNVR bar in the corner of Colfax, New York, because we've got the watch parties. It's watch party season. Nuggets, Avs going on all week long now. You know, we got the big opener on Tuesday night. Nuggets, Lakers, NBA World descending upon Denver. We also have a cool event on Saturday with the Be a Good Person brand. We got a cool little get together, the official shirt release party. We'll have the shirt there at 4 p.m. Denver time. Shirts are going to be available. You wear the shirt, you actually get a free drink. All kinds of raffle proceeds going to the Volo Kids Foundation. And we got the takeovers for the Nuggets on November 4th. Next one coming up against Chicago, Battle of DNVR versus CHGO club level seats. December 16th against OKC, a couple more of those as well for the Nuggets. And then don't forget there's some Avs takeovers as well. December 9th against the Flyers, DNVR versus PHLY. January 26th against the Kings on Pride Night. So a lot of big things going off. Diehards, you know, you get 20% off all of that stuff over at DNVR Locker. It's fantastic. A new shirt each and every year. And at the bar, 15% off food and drink. That's pretty good
incredible.
Too. That might be the best one.
I'm gonna flash my diehard card for PHNX around there, see if that works over there. It might not, but
just do the math, and you're like, all right, if I go and I'm at all these watch parties, this many drinks, I'm grabbing a meal. You're like, my membership's free.
It pays for itself.
Yeah,
it really does. And I know that's a selling point we make, but it's not. It's really just facts. We just deliver facts on these shows. We're baseball guys.
Alek Thomas, clutch pinch hit home run there in game 4, hit one again in game 5. Now he has a pair of back-to-back homer games. No Diamondback had ever done that before. Yeah. Most home runs in Diamondbacks history, a 23-year-old Alek Thomas.
I can't believe it. I mean, and obviously this is something that we have wanted to see out of Alek Thomas. We knew we could see, but he struggled at the plate a lot. There was a lot of, soft line outs to the right side that you'll see from him. And, of course, there was a lot of impatience, and now he has under his belt one of the most epic at bats ever with his 14 pitch at bat that ended in a home run during the postseason, right?
Wow.
Like
so good.
The longest at bat in Diamondbacks history that ended in a home run. That patience, that maturity is what makes these guys, go from that hitter that's struggling at times to the guy that's now the hero in the postseason. And, again, there's so much good when it comes to Alek Thomas. He's got speed. He's an incredible defender. Center field doesn't even look the same at Chase Field without him out there, right? Any other guy that plays it just somehow looks lost at times compared to how comfortable Thomas looks out there. So you want him in the lineup no matter what as a great defender. But at times his bat during the regular season did feel a bit like it was costing you, opportunities, especially, when he went on a stretch of 0 for the world, it felt like, right? But he's just been awesome. And I mean, again, this is the kind of experience that a young player like Alek Thomas gets in this postseason that can transform him and get him to that next level from where he was to where, we all believe he can be.
Do you think he's the biggest surprise this postseason? I mean, you guys have and me, because I'm now a part of the family here.
You are a fan, yes, absolutely.
On these post-game and pre-game shows, but that'll be one of those conversations highlighting, the best memorable moments or the most clutch plays.
Yeah.
But who do you think has been the biggest surprise? Is it Alek Thomas? Is it Gabriel Moreno this postseason?
Pleasant surprise, I would say Alek Thomas for sure. I think Gabriel Moreno we kind of already knew.
True.
Based on the numbers during the season about how much his presence in the lineup impacted the Diamondbacks' ability to win ball games.
But he's still been better than that.
Yeah.
I feel like he's in the conversation, but you're right.
It's because these guys are young, and that's the beautiful part about it is that this is the first postseason for so many of the players on this team. And the ones that are emerging, Brandon Pfaadt, Alek Thomas, even Corbin Carroll. He has struggled this series. He has not had a good series, but Corbin Carroll has been instrumental during the playoffs to the Diamondbacks making it to the NLCS. So having these young guys be as good as they have been and to gain this experience in their career is invaluable because these are guys that are under team contract for years to come. So it's like there's one thing to be ahead of schedule. There's one thing for you to build on your confidence by, okay, you had a winning season, check. You had you made the playoffs, check. You won a playoff series, awesome, check. Wait, you're winning big playoff series against major division rivals that you shouldn't be beating, check, right? So like now they're here at this point where we've kind of gone past the it's nice to be here point, and now we are in the range of we want to be in the World Series. We want to win the series, right? So, but it's still just this amazing, I guess, side effect of this run is that these guys are now, they are not going to need the experience provided to them by Evan Longoria's and Tommy Phams, because they have this experience now of this postseason run. They'll also have the hunger of wanting to be back here. Is that going to translate over to success next season? There's no way to tell, right? Because a lot of times you see baseball teams that are close and you're like, all right, they should be badasses next year, and then they're not, right? So, I think the big thing here is to not overcorrect and to really address a lot of the glaring holes that the Diamondbacks have on their roster right now. Third base is a big issue for them. Starting pitching, a huge issue. And honestly, I mean, there's something you could say about depth, and maybe a DH that's the guy that is like Kyle Schwarber, who, by the way, has a 1.898 OPS in this series.
Wow.
It's disgusting.
Wow.
He's got a 412 average now.
I think maybe, I don't know if surprise is the word, but if you're talking about overachievers, which could sound negative because you say, I didn't expect much from you. No, it's just, hey, we have a certain expectation, and you've risen above that. You might even throw manager Torey Lovullo in that. And I bring him up partially because he did have a really good quote about, Game 6 and going back to Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park, a place that Phillies have been so dominant. Like, that's another one of these elements you say, winning tonight or this afternoon is going to be so difficult because of Citizens Bank Park. But Torey said, quote, "We didn't come across the country to get our ass kicked." That's a quote. That's a quote from a manager right there. It's pretty good.
Can you point me to the nearest brick wall?
Behind you, sir.
I'm ready to run through it. I'm going to run through it.
Torey's the guy, man. He's getting a lot out of these players. Aaron Nola, Merrill Kelly, this afternoon at Citizens Bank Park. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they can pull it off, and if we get a pair of Game 7s. This we actually haven't had a league championship series game or series go to 7 games since 2020, when actually both of those things happened, and we've never in either of our lifetimes have even seen, let alone been alive for, a World Series rematch. So I might be getting ahead of things just a little bit, but if it's Phillies Astros, it'll actually be the first World Series rematch since the 1977-78 World Series Yankees Dodgers.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of wild. That's kind of wild to think about that.
That scene, especially when you look at the teams that have won the World Series over the last 20 years, right? There's a lot of repeats, or at least, excuse me, when I say that, I mean representatives from the NL and the AL. There are a lot of repeats. In fact, the Rockies are one of the only teams in there that aren't represented more than 1 year of making it to the World Series in all the representatives, because so many of the teams have made it here more than once. And should the Diamondbacks do it, they would also be one of the only ones on that list that have done it one time.
Yeah, it's kind of parody. I remember years ago, I think when Bud Selig was still the commissioner, he tried calling, with the wild card being implemented, something called compression of because there isn't parity in baseball, not truly, but there is this compression where there's a few teams at the bottom that almost have no chance, few teams at the top that maybe you can rely upon getting to the postseason. Even still, not really. It's just the 20th best team and the 4th best team going into each season. You could flip those too. You just never know. You could even say about 1st and 20th. There are plenty of those seasons that had that. We didn't get the Yankees in the postseason at all this year, and that was something that everyone was expecting. Yep, that's guaranteed. It doesn't happen. So that's what's wonderful about baseball.
Diamondbacks kind of followed in the Phillies' footsteps here, which was just got to make the postseason, and you never know what could happen. I know there's a lot of talk about people that have said, do the Diamondbacks deserve to be here in this series, especially the way that the Phillies have beat them in 2 out of the 3 wins that they have. I can't laugh at that enough, because don't discredit Philly. They're an incredible team. And if they win this series, they're the better team. They deserve it, right? But don't say the Diamondbacks don't deserve to be here, because this team absolutely won their way here. It wasn't fluke wins. It was pretty significant wins along the way, not losing a single game up until the NLCS. So this team should be very proud of what they've done. And there should not be a talk just because they were the final, wild card team. There's been because there's a lot of ways to discredit them, and there were a lot of talk about how they didn't win any games in that final series against the Astros of the year that essentially they needed to win in order to clinch their own way into the postseason. It required a Reds loss for them to get here, but This is baseball, man. I don't give a damn how you get here. If you can get to the postseason somehow after a 162 game season and then make some noise once you're here, not go away quiet, not get swept in the first wild card round by the Brewers, then you can't have anybody questioning if this team deserves to be where they're at.
There's sort of a difference between saying, are they the second best team in the National League or one of the top two? No.
Yeah.
But do they deserve?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because this is how the postseason is set up. Like there's a difference between those things.
I wouldn't say that. Even though they're here, I wouldn't say that. They are one of the two final teams in the National League standing, and that's absolutely the truth. But there are teams that on paper, roster-wise, there's things that impacted them. And I said that about the Dodgers series. I felt people were giving them way too much credit going into that series against the Diamondbacks because I felt like they weren't the same team that won 100 games during the regular season. There's a lot of things that happen when you get through that marathon of a season where you've lost players due to injury, guys are worn down, or whatever the case may be. In some cases with the Dodgers, they literally lost their top starting pitcher due to actions of his own doing, terrible actions of his own doing that he's no longer on the roster. But like there are factors that impact a playoff run at times, and the Diamondbacks have had a couple of things kind of go their way, including Brandon Woodruff, being injured in that series when they faced the Brewers. But that still doesn't mean they don't deserve to be here because they absolutely won the games they needed to. And they've beat the Phillies team here in 2 out of the 5 games that they've played. So I think that talk is not necessarily
show a little respect.
Yeah, show a little respect.
Yeah. All right. Last thing before we get out of here. This interesting story here. So would you like to own a piece of Mickey Mantle's childhood home? Now you can. Look, fans that love Mickey Mantle,
how many square feet are we talking?
Those baby boomers, not very many. So there's a company that purchased his house and they're going to be selling $7 fitting $7 shares, 47,000 $7 shares of his home. I think it goes on sale.
You're a shareholder in his
this
house?
Week. Well, then you can decide basically like, do we want to make it a museum? What do we want to do? Do we want to like break it down and then put a chip of the front door on a baseball card, which I'm sure is going to be a part of the conversation?
Do I have to be on a Zoom call with 47,000 other people?
I mean, hopefully you get a couple shares and it whittles it down a little bit.
I don't want that at all.
But this is unlike anything I've ever heard of.
That's awful. I mean, I know that this happens with real estate market. I used to work in the real estate market, but I know there's like companies that buy, homes. I know there's companies that buy, historical landmarks and they turn them into like a museum or something. And, I get it.
It's Commerce, Oklahoma, so it's in the kind of in the middle of nowhere. There's just a little neighborhood. It's just a corner lot. It's not that big. It's not like you can go, oh, well, maybe we could kind of do like a Field of Dreams type situation. You couldn't even feel like a wiffle ball field. In the backyard.
I don't want this. I don't like this. I don't like.
It's kind of crazy.
It is. I mean, I get it though. Like stuff like this happens. I mean, chewing gum sells on eBay for whatever, right? Like we saw that crap, right? So I mean. I don't know. I just think that sometimes we go too far with things I think cross the line into, the personal lives of these players and such, especially once they're like no longer around, we start thinking of them as like just this legendary, it
reminds you of your youth, like your childhood.
Tall tale, almost, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. That seems kind of gross.
Is there a memorabilia item that you can remember of like, that's a bit too much? Like I know people will have like checks or like old contracts that were signed by famous people. Like,
see, I think that's kind of cool.
No, that is.
That's kind of cool.
But that is like an outside the box thing of memorabilia. But you go, that's fine. That's not that crazy.
I brought home a piece of glass from a pro wrestling match, just because I needed a memorabilia from that match.
Was it clear or did it have a substance on it?
It might have had a substance on it. It might have had
DNA?
some of Shane Strickland's blood, or maybe it was AR Fox's blood. I don't know. But it was
what a swerve that was.
It was a Lucha Underground show that I went to one time, a taping of that. But no, I know there's a lot of weird stuff out there. I think YouTube celebrity sold her bathwater. That's where I think we're starting to cross the line, right? I mean,
I do remember hearing something about that.
I mean, you're gross on both ends of that, as the person selling it and the person buying it. That's you're not going to change my mind on that one.
Do you would you ever want to own like a cork from a celebration inside of a clubhouse when a team wins a big game?
I do own several.
You do?
I do own several corks.
Oh, okay. How about that? What do you
I have
know?
a collection of corks from celebrations at Chase Field.
Right on.
And you might have provided one of them to me, allegedly. I don't
might
know.
have, right?
That might be,
have.
yeah.
We
that
never
might be
know.
a criminal act. I don't know if you're allowed to steal those, but I also have some bubble gum from the field from the wild card win. that
Field,
year.
like someone
because
spit
they
it out?
dumped like
that bubble
double
gum.
yum
Okay.
on someone,
It
and
wasn't-
there were some trampled pieces on the ground that they were just going to go in the trash anyway.
Trampled's
So
fine.
they ended up. In
I
a
wasn't
little
sure
box.
if it was an ABC situation.
Yeah.
We don't want some already been chewed gum.
No,
We don't
it was
want
not
that.
already been chewed gum. But I did get sprayed with champagne significantly, so my playoff badge is like the ink
Bleeding.
bled on it. Yeah, so it only adds to the coolness of all of
Very
those
cool.
memorabilia. But I mean, I like that kind of stuff, and I think people need to worry more about having memories, keeping memories from things you attended. You know,
Oh, sure.
like don't own a piece of Mickey Mantle's house. You know, like own a piece of your own childhood or whatever. Like that's what's more important. And I think especially having I have stupid things like confetti from, again, another pro wrestling
Concerts.
event, Kenny
Yeah.
Omega winning the US title and New Japan Pro Wrestling, all sorts of wrestling stuff that I have. But yeah, like mostly it's because I had great times with my friends and I
Yeah.
just wanted to kind of have, some memories of that. But
That's
I
cool.
mean, again, I don't want someone else's memories.
No, I think that's cool. You're the king of cool. You're the mayor of PHNX Sports. Go ahead and plug away. Let folks know where they can find all your good stuff.
Well,
at.
you and me are going to be doing a show in like 1 hour pregame
True.
before the Diamondbacks take on the Phillies here at 2:07 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
I'm ready to
but
get hurt,
you can-
Derek.
What's that?
I'm ready to get hurt.
Oh, don't hurt me again, baby. Please don't hurt me again. But you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at cap_caveman with a K, and our show's at PHNX_Dbacks. So make sure to follow us there and join us for our pregame show in a little bit. We'll be talking more about this Diamondbacks team and how much I don't believe in their chances.
At DNVR_Rockies, at Patrick D. Lyons is where I'm at on Twitter. Tons of fun, Derek. Appreciate you jumping on again and giving us that little bit of Montilla momentum. But unfortunately, it can only go so far. But that's okay because we're making our own momentum. Tune back in tomorrow. Susie's got her show. Remember, on Monday, Wednesday, she's got the rest of the days of the week. It's going to be right
miss him
here.
so much. I'm not letting him go back.
miss you too,
He's
buddy.
not going to be back. We're keeping you here.
Just rewatch all the YouTube. Just give more views to those thousands and
Yeah.
thousands of views on YouTube.
Yeah.
And relive it all. And make sure you're tuning in tomorrow right here on the DNVR Sports Channel, live on YouTube.
We all silly like the mayor.